Okay, so last week we were working on finding slope from a graph using points and using the x and y intercept and things like that. So this week we're going to be working more with that, but we'll be using an actual formula that no matter what values we put in, we'll always get the slope when we come out of it. So just the first thing there, it says you can find the slope of the line from any two ordered pairs. The ordered pairs can be given to you, or you might need to read them from a table of graphs. So they'll either look like that right there, where they're given as ordered pairs, or you'll just be given a picture of a graph, and from that you'll have to figure out your two ordered pairs. So step one to do this is we have to name the ordered pairs. It doesn't matter which is first and which is second, so right here we put this one as our first ordered pair, -1, 3, and then 2, 0 is our second ordered pair. So after that, step 2 is label each number in the ordered pairs. And if you see right there, they have x sub 1, y sub 1 as our first ordered pair. And then for our second one, they have x sub 2, comma y sub 2. Yeah. Then the next step is substitute your ordered pairs into the slope formula. And this right here is our slope formula. So whatever we plug in for all of our values there, we should get a slope for our graph, our ordered pairs, or whatever problem we might have. So what goes on top when we're trying to find slope?
The y's.
The y's, right? So for this one, it's y sub 2 minus y sub 1. Our y sub 2 is 0, so we have 0 minus our y sub 1, which is 3. Then downstairs is our x values. So x sub 2, we have that as 2, minus a -1, because that's our x sub 1. So get 0 minus 3 is?
-3.
And then we change the bottom to 2 minus -1 is what?
-3. Oh, wait.
What's 2 minus -1?
So then 2
1.
plus -1, so 1.
What happens when you subtract a negative?
Got you behind it.
What is that?
So 3.
Hmm?
That looks like 21.
Yep, I haven't finished it. 2 plus 1. Right. So here we had 2 minus a -1. And when you subtract a negative, you change that to add the opposite, so it becomes 2 plus 1.
So basically, it's something it's a 2 negative, they cancel each other and become positive.
Yep. When you're subtracting a negative, it just becomes cancel out, so you add them instead. Yeah. So after that, we have -3 over 3 because 2 plus 1 is 3. So what is -3 divided by 3?
-1.
-1. So after we found our slope, it says the slope of the line that has points -1, 3, and 2, 0 is -1. What would have happened if we had flip-flops? If we had said this was our first pair and this was our second ordered pair?
Then
Okay.
Joss?
I don't have the answer, but I just don't. I don't understand.
what do you mean like flip flop? Like the 2 is the y?
If we said this was our first ordered pair
Oh, no, I get
and this
it.
was our second ordered pair, you good?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we say this is our first ordered pair, we would say, oops, excuse me. 2, 0 is first, and -1, 3 is second. So
3 minus, wait.
we have to label them, right? So this would be what?
Y, x1.
Say that again?
X and Y 1.
Is that how we say it?
X sub y1.
There it is. This will be x sub 1 and this will be y sub 1. Then what will these two be?
Y sub 2.
Y sub 2, and then what's our other one?
X sub 2.
X sub 2, okay. So now that we have everything labeled, we just plug it into our formula there. So how do I rewrite it?
That's 0, 3 minus 0.
Okay, that goes up top, and then what goes on bottom?
Negative 1 minus 2.
Okay, so then,
Wouldn't it be just like 3 over negative 3?
I don't know, what it? What's negative 1 minus 2?
Oh, 3 over
Negative 3.
Negative 3. So what's 3 divided by negative 3?
3.
Negative 1.
Do we have the same slopes for both of them?
Yes.
So it doesn't matter which ordered pair we put as first or second? No, it doesn't. Alright. So,
Wait, can you go up?
oh wait, sorry.
Why did you switch around from the other side?
This one? Why did I switch them?
No, I'm not over, right there.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you switch it from 0 minus 3 to 3 minus 0 on the other one? It
Why did I
just-
switch these two? The 0 minus 3 and 3 minus 0?
Yeah.
Because, oops. Our slope formula is y sub 2 minus y sub 1, right? Whatever we have, no.
There we go. It's a little small on the back, so I was trying to figure out a way to
Oh, okay.
blow it up a little bit. 'Cause
Okay.
I couldn't see that.
So our slope formula is y sub 2 minus y sub 1. So whatever we labeled as y sub 2 goes first, and then we subtract y sub 1, right?
Yeah, but below it says 0 minus 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just, oh, you're just making another example over?
Yep, this is if we flipped the first order
Like
pairs.
last one minus
Yes.
one,
Mr. Conlon was just proving that it doesn't matter which order pair goes
okay. It's
first.
gonna be the same.
It's going to be the same as what he was proving.
Alright, so for our practice problems, number 1 is find the slope of each linear relationship. So, first things first, what are the ordered pairs that were given for number 1?
For negative 5.
0, negative 2.
Okay, we have 0, negative 2. And then what's our other one?
4, 1.
4, 1. Oops, it's ugly. Alright, so we have 2 ordered pairs. Next thing, we have to decide which one is going to be our first ordered pair and which one's going to be our second one. So someone tell me which one do you want to be first?
So 0, 0.
Okay, we'll say this one's first. And then this one will be second.
So when we're doing this on homework, you want us to label which one we're putting first?
Yes. Yep, I want you to put which one you're choosing as the first order pair and the second order pair. Because then the next step of when we say which one is x sub 1, y sub 1, and then x sub 2, y sub 2, that'll make it clearer and easier to follow. So, after that, oops, we have our first and second. So what do we say is our x sub 1 and y sub 1?
X of 1 is 0,
0, and what's our y sub 1?
negative 2.
Negative 2, because, make that neater.
It's the first one.
Yep, this is our first ordered pair. So our x sub 1, that relates back to our first ordered pair. X value for that one is 0, and then our y sub 1 refers back to the y value for our first ordered pair, and that's negative 2. So then we have our x sub 2 and then our y sub 2. So what are those?
4 and 1.
4 and 1. then we have our slope formula, right?
These look like fractions and it's confusing me.
Okay. Yep, some slopes will be fractions. So before we start plugging in everything, just looking at the graph, what do you think our slope is going to be?
Like we mean positive or negative.
Well, is it going to be positive?
Yes, it's gonna be positive,
Why?
because it's not going to the left.
Close. So it's positive because it's rising from left to right, right? So we have our 2 points. How did we find slope when we had graphs before in our other assignments?
Right over run.
Rise over run, right? So if we have this point here, 0, -2, how many units up do we have to move?
Four.
3,
1, 2, 3. So our rise would be, I'll write that over here,
over 4.
rise over run equals 3, and then after we're here, how many units do we have to move? 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. So our rise over run would be 3 over 4. That's just looking at our graph right now. Now, if we use the slope formula, oh, yep, sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Now, we have our slope formula, so after we've labeled all of our y sub 2's and x sub 1's and things like that, we have to substitute in all of our values. So, what would it be rewritten as?
-2 minus 1 over 0 minus 4.
Are you sure? Because y sub 2 goes first, right?
Yeah.
And what is our y sub 2?
1 minus -2.
1 minus,
Oh, y sub 2.
and what goes on bottom?
4 minus 0.
Yep, 4 minus 0. And our top one becomes, what's 1 minus -2?
3. Because both of the minus signs cancel out.
Right? The minuses cancel out, so we have 1 plus 2 upstairs. So that becomes 3 over 4. So our slope down there is 3 over 4. We said our slope, just by looking at the graph, was 3 over 4. Does that answer look good to everyone?
Okay, don't change it.
Yeah.
Okay. Just gonna, there you go.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Why do we have to have the slope formula when the rise over the run is just the same?
That is because this is just the general formula for any values. So, like in our next problem, we have 4 ordered pairs. We can pick any 2 of these and plug them into our slope formula and get the slope out. So right here, we're given the graph, so we can just count each unit.
And that would be the slope.
Yeah, but
Just
we,
thinking of me. I don't know, it makes more sense to me, just like if you get that chart, then to just do the graph and get the slope there.
Right.
It's easier.
but we're not always gonna be given a graph, so that's where the slope formula comes into play.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on to number 2. We are asked to find the slope of each linear relationship. So first things first, we have to have 2 ordered pairs. So let's just pick 2 of them.
4, -5.
Okay, that one and,
12 negative 1. No,
oh,
16. Sorry.
that one. Okay, so we have 4, negative 5, and then 16, 1. That's not what I want. Alright. So which one do we want to be our first order pair?
Which one?
This one?
Yeah.
So we could write it first right next to it, and this one we would write second. So after we have our first and second, we have to do what?
Figure out what x and y one is. X sub 1.
There you go. So our first order pair, what's 4 going to be?
X
X
sub
sub
1.
one.
X sub 1.
X sub 1. What's negative 5?
Y sub 1.
Y sub 1. And then going on to our second order pair, what do we label them as?
X sub
X
two,
sub 2.
and
X
X
sub
Y sub 2.
2 and Y sub 2. Exactly. Alright, so oops. There we go. Alright. So we have our slope formula, our general form of it. We have y sub 2 minus y sub 1 on top. So if we rewrite that with our values, what are we going to have?
1 minus negative 5.
1, because that's our y sub 2 minus negative 5.
And 16 minus 4.
16 minus 1 on bottom.
Minus 4.
4, thank you.
So 1 was 5 over 12.
Okay, and 1 minus negative 5 is what?
1
6.
plus 5.
That becomes 1 plus 5. And 16 minus 4 is 12. So then 1 plus 5 is 6 over 12, and that can that be simplified
Yes, half.
to 1/2, right? So our slope for this one is 1/2.
Mr. Gilman,
Mm-hmm.
what if you had one that came out to 24 over 12? Would you leave it at 24 over 12 or would
You
you
can
change it?
simplify it to 1/2. That's still 1/2.
24 over 12, can you change
Oh,
it
that's
to
2.
1? I mean,
2.
2.
You could. How'd you get that, Cody?
Oh,
Yes, Julia?
I used like a different
You used a different ordered pair? Okay.
If I use 4, negative 5, and negative 3, and that's 6 over
Okay, so which ones did you use?
4, negative
4, negative 5,
5, and
8, negative 3. So which one did you put as your first one? Well, that will always help. When you guys are doing your homework, always make sure that you say which one is going to be your first and second ordered pair. So let's just all work through this together because I want to show you guys that you can pick any 2 ordered pairs out of that table and you should always get the same slope no matter what. So out of these 2, which one do we want to be our first ordered pair?
8 over 8 negative 3.
Okay, we can write this one as first and then this one will be our second. So then we have to label each one, right? Okay. Well, let's keep going through this. Okay. So, what do we do next? No, not
X
yet.
sub 1,
There.
Y sub 1,
X sub 1, Y sub 1, then.
X sub 2, Y sub 2.
Alright. So then we have our general formula. So, after this, we do
Negative
all of our substitution, like Julia said. So we have what up top?
-5 minus 3.
-5 minus what?
Negative.
-3.
What? Wait. How did you get
8,
minus -3?
because 8, 3 is negative.
Can you let him explain?
Because the general formula, it's always going to have that minus sign in there.
Oh, okay, now I see. Okay.
So when you substitute in your values,
Yeah.
it's usually a good idea to put parentheses around the second one. Good question. So, up top we have -5 minus -3. Downstairs we have what?
4 minus 8.
4 minus 8. So then upstairs it changes to,
We don't need to write this on our paper, do
you don't have to, I'm just working through it. So we have -5 plus 3 because the negatives cancel out and turn into
we? Negative.
positive.
Oh,
So then 4 minus 8 is -4. What's minus or -5 plus 3?
-2.
-2, and then
-4. Would be half.
and this simplifies to 1/2. So is that the same slope as the one we got here?
Yes.
So does that mean that we can pick any two ordered pairs? I would hope so. All right, you guys can do number 3 by yourselves. Just remember to label which one you're picking as your first ordered pair and your second.
While we're waiting, can I remember which one? While we're waiting, can I fill this one?
Just wait, we're gonna go through it.
After.
Yep. No, fine. Alrighty. So, I picked 5, -2 as our first ordered pair, and I'll just write that. First, second. So, my x sub 1 was 5, my y sub 1 was -2, x sub 2 is 7, and then y sub 2 is 6. Did anyone flip it around? Did anyone pick it the other way? Or you had this as your first one, and this as your second? Okay, so our general formula for finding the slope, y sub 2 minus y sub 1, so how would it be rewritten?
6 minus -2
6 minus -2.
over 7 minus 5.
Oops, not 7. 7 minus 5. So this 6 minus -2 is
8.
8. And 7 minus 5 is
2. Simplify that, it's 4.
alright. Is that what everyone else got? I take the silence as a yeah. Alrighty, so does anyone have any questions about using the slope formula, finding slope and all that good stuff? Alrighty,